Did you know that the clothes you wear every day could be making you sick? For someone who puts their health first and foremost, this can be shocking. But unfortunately, most clothing produced today is full of unhealthy toxins. These don't just leave when you wash them either. They can linger for years. They can pose significant risks to you and your family. Fertility issues, skin irritation, breathing issues, and even types of cancer. Even organic clothing brands can house these toxic chemicals. In this video, I'm going to show you toxins lurking in all kinds of fabrics, the risks they pose to your health, and the steps to wearing better clothing. I wanted to make this video because of a recent experience I had that revealed how difficult it can be to find healthy clothing and how companies hide the toxins in the clothes we wear. Just a while ago, Andri and I were doing some baby shopping, just some clothes and other baby stuff that we still needed. And then we also found a nice looking little blanket. It was a woolen blanket from an organic baby store. So it ticked all the boxes and we bought it. Then on the drive home, I was reading the pretty deceptively hidden label and I found something. A pretty hefty portion of it was synthetic polyamide, so it wasn't really a woolen blanket. I felt so frustrated, yet somehow not surprised. You can bet that we just turned around and went to return it. Synthetics are everywhere because they're cheap, though over time, the health risks they are hiding have been unmasked. So what are these health risks? Well, for starters, many synthetic fabrics, like the polyamide in our organic wool blanket, shed microplastics, which pose a plethora of risks already by themselves. When you wash synthetics, tiny pieces of plastics gradually make their way into water reserves and pollute our drinking water. They also accumulate in your home, where, as it turns out, you can inhale them, and this is known to cause lung inflammation, and they can accumulate in your organs, and they can even enter inside your cells. Though the scary part is that microplastics are the perfect transport for harmful chemicals, meaning if you're ingesting or inhale microplastics, you can also take in other toxins. One of these that you've most likely heard of is bisphenol A or BPA. BPA is absorbed through your skin and what's called an endocrine disruptor, meaning it interferes with your hormones, and it's also known to cause developmental defects in children, among many other issues. There are all kinds of chemicals hiding in the clothes many of us wear every day. However, some type of garments pose higher risk than others. One in particular with all kinds of toxins is activewear. Yoga pants, sports bra, hiking clothes, items that need to stand up to moisture and be flexible and resilient. So these fabrics often have something called polyfluorinated substances, or PFAS. These are the same chemicals most non-stick cookware are made of. They're added to clothing mostly to rainproof them or to resist oils and moisture, which your body produces when you sweat. But it is exactly because PFAS are so widely used, we also know most of the health risks they pose. PFAS impact all kinds of things: your immune system, your reproductive functions, your hormones, and worst of all, they have even been linked to certain forms of cancer. The impacts are so severe that countries like New Zealand have already announced a sweeping ban on all PFAS in cosmetics. It's crazy to think that something as simple as yoga pants, which one would mostly wear because they're likely working out and taking care of their body, can actually be a harbinger for all these known to be harmful toxic chemicals. Though that's not the end of it. There is even more toxins hiding in your activewear. Phthalates are compounds added to all kinds of plastics to make them more durable and flexible. Think food storage, toys, flooring, they're everywhere, and they've made their way into our clothing. It's this flexibility why they're actually added to the activewear. But time has shown us the consequences. Much like PFAS, exposure to phthalates in your clothing have been linked to hormone disruption and cancer. And there are many more toxic chemicals and compounds in your clothes that can make us sick. However, there is one that might shock you, the risk of which have been thoroughly documented throughout the past century, and that is lead. Yes, the same lead that's banned in consumer products. Lead exposure can lead to all kinds of health impacts, in particular damage to your brain and nervous system. And all of this is very well established and documented. So how can there be lead in your clothing? It's in the dyes. Most clothes get their color from something called pigments. These are powders used to give paints, printing inks, dyes, and most other things their color. So that shirt you're wearing, well, it contains these pigments. They aren't inherently bad, as some are natural and organic. However, it's the cheaper inorganic pigments that often contain lead. All of this might sound a bit overwhelming and a bit scary. Scary that so much of what we buy is not actually good for us. Still, there are some ways to avoid these toxins and wear healthy clothing. Many fashion brands have caught on to the rising awareness of toxins, so they've begun releasing and promoting items and materials that are supposedly organic and healthier. But unfortunately, most of them aren't really any better. So it's important you know about these marketing tricks if you don't want to end up buying something that's actually worse. One solution many people jump to, also pushed by big brands, is recycling, because recycling is good, right? Well, it saddens me to say that most of the time it's not. Sure, it means we reuse and consume less. However, it can be worse for your health than buying new, and here is why. Since recycled synthetics have received more use and undergone degradation, they're more likely to shed microplastics, leading to the problems we talked about earlier. The issues extend to new clothes using recycled fabrics too, and what's worse, the recycling process itself commonly involves harsh chemicals, which means that the health risks are not reduced but actually exaggerated. That's because recycling is mostly just for show. From 2013, H&M began pouring millions into advertising their recycling initiative. They encouraged customers to bring in their old clothes to be repurposed, even though the solutions they would need to recycle most clothing items didn't even exist. Only a small percentage of the massive turnover can be recycled, so most donated items make their way into third world countries like Ghana, where there is an excess of poor quality fast fashion clothing. Most of it ends up in landfills or the ocean. Unless the clothing is hand-me-down and is a good product in the first place, recycling is just another buzzword. And it's not the only solution being pushed by fashion brands. So this leads us to our next great organic alternative that health-conscious apparel companies have started incorporating into their clothing lines: bamboo. It sounds good. It appears natural, so surely it must be non-toxic. Yet, bamboo-based clothing is just obscuring even more known to be harmful chemicals. Bamboo doesn't naturally weave into fabric. It takes harsh chemical processing to transform it into a pulp, which often involves the use of substances like carbon disulfide and formaldehyde, exposure to which can cause dizziness, respiratory issues, headaches, trigger allergies, and more. So no, bamboo is not a good solution either. It's laden with toxins. But why are clothing brands pushing these healthy alternatives if they aren't any better? You might have heard of the term greenwashing. If you haven't, it's where a company will promote misleading information to appear to be green when in reality they're doing the opposite. Well, say hello to greenwashing's trendy younger cousin, health washing. Gestures that seem good-willed and a step forward, but just like synthetic fabrics, it's artificial, as most of the efforts goes into marketing, not manufacturing. The fact of the matter is that if a big brand comes out with a conscious or an organic line of clothing, and when it's a small part of their catalog, you can be confident that the production processes of this line is probably very similar to everything else they have. Full of chemicals, the only difference is the branding. With all these toxins and deceptive tricks, it might seem impossible to find clothing that's organic and safe for your body. But you absolutely can. You can find good clothing, healthy clothing, clothes that last. So here are some practices we use when shopping and some areas to pay close attention to. As we've learned from the story in the beginning of this video, first and foremost, always read the label. Even if you're in a store that insists that they sell only organic clothing. A cotton sweater doesn't need to be made purely out of cotton, so it's important to check before you buy. And even after the countless times I've fallen for these tricks, as you can see, I still make mistakes. The best way to avoid toxins is staying away from synthetic fabrics. Polyester, acrylic, nylon, spandex, rayon, microfiber, and fleece. They might be cheaper, but they aren't worth the health risks. Instead, look for organic fabrics: cotton, wool, silk, linen, hemp, and cashmere. They're a bit more expensive, though you get something healthier and usually higher quality. just as long as the material isn't grown with pesticides, which kind of undoes the health benefits of buying them. Many regions have more control over the use of pesticides, such as the EU, but this is not always a sure thing, so keep this in mind. Stay away from recycled products, especially ones offered by a big brand. The same goes for bamboo, which is basically just viscose rayon. Both are just a no-go. These practices helped us avoid toxins and more often than not finding higher quality clothes. Though not all garments have the same level of risk, there are some you should pay closer attention to. The most notable is underwear. Toxic compounds near sensitive areas carry a higher risk of fertility issues, UTIs, or fungal infections. The other item is outdoor and exercise clothing. For the many toxins, but not only that, the health risks are accentuated by the fact that you often sweat while wearing them. Your sweat allows chemicals to leach out, so you absorb more. But if you do use synthetic exercise clothing, like a rash guard, always change out of them right after exercising and always wash after use. Speaking of which, always wash your new clothes before you wear them. Always. New clothes are often coated with chemical finishes to ensure the color or texture of the clothing. We even visited an organic eco-conscious store in Portugal where they spray the clothes with perfume before packing them up for you. So even if after washing they do lose some color and perhaps shape, it's better than risking your health. All of this, the toxins, health washing, and the practices can be overwhelming, and that's understandable. But keep this in mind. Fast fashion, by design, has a short lifespan. Healthy, quality clothing has a long lifespan. Are our clothes making us sick? Yes. Can we do something about it? Absolutely. They might be harder to find and they might be more expensive, but remember that high quality, healthy clothing is going to last you much longer, often years longer. You're going to feel more comfortable, you're going to feel better wearing it, and you're going to be healthier. So buy less and invest in quality, long-lasting items. I hope you found this helpful. For a list of things to avoid, they are down in the description, along with the clothing brand we endorse. If you're interested in learning about harmful items you might have in your kitchen that you should probably throw out, check out this video next.